Assalamu alaikum. This is Talk to Farina Najam from Division of Arts and Social Sciences, University of Education, Lahore. The course title is Advanced Drawing. Dear student, our topic is about creative drawing with still object. First of all, what is drawing? Drawing in the heart is the heart or soul of an artist's way to express themselves. As a communication tool, drawing is a creative way to express the feelings and thoughts of an artist or designer. A drawing can be a sketch, a plan, a design, or graphic representation made with the help of pens, pencil, or crayon. Drawings that result from direct or real observation are life drawing. Life drawing, also known as still life drawing or figurative drawing, portrays all the expression that are viewed by the artist and conceptured captured in this picture. The human figure forms one of the most enduring themes in life drawing that is applied to portraiture, sculpture, medical illustration, cartooning, and comic book illustration and other fields. Creative drawing with still objects. Still life is the best subject in art from learning and teaching the skills of drawing and painting. It teaches you how to look at objects and see them like an artist with a perspective awareness of their outline, shape, proportions, tone, color, texture, form, and composition. Our step-by-step still life lesson will teach you the drawing techniques used to create the still life above which was done with a 2B pencil or on paper. These steps demonstrate how to draw the shapes and proportions of the still life objects using line. These steps illustrate how to render the three-dimensional form of the still life using tone. Still life with pencil. In any still life, you should start to draw the objects as if they are transparent white frame forms with visible lines of construction. This technique helps you to be fully aware of the shape of each individual form and its position in relation to the other forms. It is important to sketch the object lightly as this makes it easier to change any mistakes and erase any line of construction. This see-through drawing technique uses vertical and horizontal lines of construction to help you to draw convincing ellipses and to balance the symmetry of cylindrical forms. When you're composing a still life, try to introduce the qualities that make an interesting arrangement. You need to be aware of the abstract structure of your arrangement, its balances and contrast of line, shape, tone, color, pattern, texture, and form. A transparent white frame approach to sketching the still life helps you to organize the composition of the group. It makes it easier to see the shape, position, and proportion of each object in relation to its neighbors. Once you are happy with the shape, proportion, and composition of the still life, You can erase its line of construction. This will leave you with an accurate outline of each form and the confidence that all the objects are positioned correctly. You are now ready to work on the details of each object. Now lightly sketch in the shapes of any shadows or reflection on to each object. The more care you take over the accuracy of these marks, the easier you will find the next stage of the drawing, the shading of tones. The tone of our still life is built up in 4 stages outlined in step 5 to 8. In this step, some basic tones are lightly applied to each object to help build up its three-dimensional form. The second stage in building up the tone focuses on the spaces between and around the object. The drawing of the light and shade between the objects must be treated with as much importance as the drawing of the object themselves. The shadows cast beneath and around the objects add as much to the definition of their shapes as does the shading of their surfaces. Notice how the counter change of tone between the objects and their surrounding spaces take over from the use of line to define their forms. In the third stage of building up the tone, you focus back on the object. This time you deepen their tone, increasing the contrast between the areas of dark and light. This will enhance the form of these objects and increase their impact. The biggest problem at this stage is to maintaining a balance of tones across the whole still life so that no object appears too dark or too light. You are searching for a unity of tone and form. Finally, you focus again on the deepening their tones and increasing their contrast. You need to be careful in balancing the tonal values of the objects and the spaces between them to ensure that you create a unified image. The finished still life, the completed still life should work on two levels as a realistic representation of the group of objects as a dynamic composition of visual elements, harmonizing and contrasting the use of line, shape, and tone. Master basic drawing techniques and tips for drawing in charcoal, and you can render an eye-catching still life drawing step by step. After carefully arranging his complex setup of wooden objects, the artist used basic drawing techniques that he explained below step by step to complete family portrait drawing charcoal. Arranging a still life is largely a matter of experimentation and observation. But the first step is to decide on a concept. He often liked to stick with a single, somewhat narrowly defined concept in a still life, rather than a multitude of different objects, as this gives immediate coherence and unity to the design. For the step-by-step still life drawing chronicle in this article, he settled on a very simple concept: an arrangement of different pieces of wood in varying colors and shapes. The challenge was to find a way to make it interesting. With a trial and error approach, he moved objects around, discovering interesting relationships and effect, and thereby slowly enhance and refine the composition. After he have his still life setup finalized, he began the drawing. At this point, keeping in mind that a few simple ideas will go a long way toward a satisfying result, he reduced objects to simple form and shapes because nature is complex. The artist began with basic shapes and tunes and slowly refine them as he go, trying not to get ahead of himself. He worked to make each step what it should be. He don't let himself get too eager to make the drawing look three-dimensional. He have to trust that the subsequent steps will get him there. Because nature is complex, he began with basic shapes and tones and slowly refined them as he go. Take measurements. First, he placed the drawing board directly alongside the still life and set a vantage point roughly 8 to 10 feet away from the setup. Using the charcoal and ruler, he took some basic measurements: top of the frame, top and bottom of the doll, and so on, walking back and forth from his vantage point to the drawing. He made these indications on his paper. Block in forms. Once he had some basic measurements, he began blocking in all the basic forms of the design, checking them with a ruler from his vantage point and erasing with the chamois rag when needed. Then he refined the lines as he kept moving fairly quickly around the drawing, progressing to the same level in each area. Here he blocked in the main shadows and began putting in some basic tone with lines at roughly a 45-degree angle. Also, he began to lay in some dark half tones. Model the form. This step always take him by far the longest, modeling the form, creating smooth transition and even tones. At this point, he began using general pencil, charcoal pencil to get the deepest blacks. The tone started out very black, but he gradually lightened it with repeated application of the needed eraser. He usually concentrates on a one small area at a time and model it to its finish, refining tones and adding incidental detail while taking care to compare values one to another to judge their relative tones, adding the word grain and other incidental details defining contribute to the finished look of the drawing. He used the charcoal for light half tones, charcoal pencil for darks and quite a bit of kneaded eraser to work the charcoal in. Finally, with a few touches of the white chalk in just the very brightest area, he completed the drawing. You can see the shading final image of drawing composition.